Hi friends, this is Dr. Ravindra Reddy, Anthropology faculty. I have been teaching Anthropology optional for Civil Services examination in different coaching centers in Hyderabad and Bangalore for the past 10 years. I am one of the national toppers in Anthropology optional in the UPSC examinations. I scored 354 marks in the UPSC examination conducted in the year 2010-11. I am basically a doctor by profession. I became an anthropology faculty out of my passion. Today, we'll discuss anthropology as an optional for civil services examination. Many people, they might have heard that anthropology is a successful optional in civil services examination. Anthropology is a high scoring optional. Many aspirants in the beginning of their preparation, they might have heard about these statements, but they don't know what is the subject content of anthropology. It's very simple. Here we are going to study the society, that's it. For beginners, I'll tell you in a simple way, anthropology is nothing but the study of evolution of man and his culture. Culture is nothing but our behavior. Anthropology is nothing but the study of evolution of man and his culture. And before discussing or before going into details regarding anthropology syllabus and how to prepare, first let us discuss what is the importance of optional for civil services examination. Many of you are aware of the examination pattern, but whatever it may be, let me explain briefly. In our exam, there are total 3 stages: preliminary examination, mains examination, and interview. Preliminary examination is just screening, is just a screening test, and the marks obtained by you in mains examination and interview will be taken into consideration in deciding your rank. If you qualify preliminary examination, you will be allowed to write the mains examination. In mains examination, total there will be 9 papers. First paper and second paper, they are just qualifying in nature, English and regional languages. And later, you have to write one general essay, paper. The general essay paper carries 250 marks. In general essay paper, you have to write 2 essays, but 1 paper. General studies. In general studies, there will be 4 papers, and each paper carries 250 marks. 1 optional. In each optional, there will be 2 papers. Each paper carries 250 marks. That means general essay will be for 250 marks. General studies will be for 1000 marks, and option will be for 500 marks. That means the mains examination will be conducted for a total 750 marks. If you get more marks in the mains examination, you will be called for interview. Interview will be held for 275 marks, and the marks obtained by you in mains examination interview will be taken into consideration at the time of deciding your rank. If you get good rank, you will get good service. Now, if you go into the details, general essay is common for all the aspirants. General studies common for all the students. Optional. Every student or every aspirant has to select one optional. Some students can opt for geography, some students can opt for anthropology, some students can opt for public administration. Like the different students can opt for different subjects, but only one optional. Now here the question paper varies. In 1 year, geography question paper may be difficult, anthropology may be easy. In another year, geography question paper may be easy, anthropology may be difficult. That means question paper varies. depending upon the optional chosen by us. That's why we have to be cautious, we have to be careful at the time of selecting an optional. That's why, first of all, we should know what are the criteria that are to be followed at the time of selecting an optional. As far as my experience is concerned, as far as my opinion is concerned, we have to consider certain criteria at the time of selecting an optional. They are, the first one is quantity of syllabus. Second one is recent trends in the examination. Third one is availability of coaching. Fourth one is availability of material and guidance. Guidance means in the form of evaluation of our answers. These are the criteria that are to be taken into consideration. First one is quantity of syllabus. If the syllabus is less, we can complete the preparation as early as possible. Very simple. Second one is recent trends in the examination. We have to consider how many questions they are giving on the basis of pure subject. That means how many questions are static and how many questions they are giving on the basis of current affairs. That means a dynamic. We have to consider whether the subject is static or dynamic and how many questions in the examination that they have been asking on the basis of current affairs and on the basis of pure subject. This is very, very important. If more questions are asked on the basis of current affairs, you have to go through the newspapers in detail and every day you have to update your subject content. Anyway, you have to go through the newspaper, but the marks obtained by you in optional is going to decide your success. That's why rather than relying on constantly changing aspects, it is better to rely on static content. Second one is within this static content, how many questions are direct questions, how many questions are indirect questions. That's why we have to consider these two factors. That means how many questions are on the basis of current affairs, how many questions are direct questions, how many questions are indirect questions. After that, availability of coaching. See, even without coaching also we can acquire mastery over different subjects, but it takes time. In order to compete with other aspirants, in order to clear the examination in the first attempt or in less number of attempts, we must acquire mastery over the subjects as early as possible. That's why if we have guidance or if we have coaching, you will acquire the mastery over the subject as early as possible, because the concerned faculty explains the subject in detail, so that your preparation time can be reduced. And after that, availability of material for the entire syllabus and guidance. After studying the material, we have to start writing practice. Whenever we write answers, it's nothing but practice. There must be one person to evaluate your answers, to tell you what are the drawbacks and to tell you how to rectify those drawbacks. These are very, very essential. That's why at the time of selecting any optional, we have to consider the size of the optional. Don't think that the optionals with a small size are always successful. This is one of the criteria to be considered. That's why quantity of the syllabus, recent trends in the examination. If more questions are on the basis of static content, and in that static content, if more questions are direct in nature, then that will be more successful also. Why? Because In the examination, we need not to think how to write answer to a particular question. When the questions are direct, when the questions are on the basis of static content, definitely we can write, we can have ready-made answers, we can write as it is in the examination so that we can get more marks. The question papers will be set in such a manner that 3 hours of time is not sufficient to write answers to all the questions if you think in the examination hall. Only those people who have very good command on the subjects can only write answers to all the questions in the examination. That's why we should not waste time in thinking how to write answers in the examination hall. If you rely on current affairs, if you rely on indirect questions, in the examination hall you have to think what are the points that are to be written and in what structure or how to channelize that content. If we think in this manner, time will be killed. Then you may not be in a position to write answers to all the questions. If 1 or 2 questions are like this, nothing will happen. If more questions are on the basis of current affairs, you have to think more in the examination hall, more time will be wasted. Then you may not be in a position to write answers to all the questions. Then automatically will get less marks. So you have to consider these factors. After that, availability of coaching already we have discussed. If you have coaching, you can acquire mastery over the subject as early as possible. After that, availability of material is also very, very important to continuous guidance. Now, if you consider anthropology, syllabus size is less. And if you analyze the examination, the questions in the examination in the past 10 years, majority of the questions are on the basis of static content. And majority of the questions are direct in nature. In anthropology, we will have 2 papers. In each paper, there will be 2 parts, section A and section B. In anthropology, in paper 2, in section B, there are chances for current affairs based questions. That's why very less portion is dynamic in nature. That too, in that 25%, again some questions are on the basis on the subject, pure subject, and some questions are on the basis of current affairs. That's why the dynamic content is very, very less. And at the same time, availability of coaching is also very, very important. Anthropology is easy to understand. Many people can read anthropology on their own and they can acquire mastery. But here there is one problem. Anthropology is very, very successful. It is easy to learn. But in anthropology, there is one section by name physical anthropology. Physical anthropology consists of science. That's why you have to be careful. That's why at the time of choosing coaching or choosing a faculty to take coaching, you have to consider his ability to teach physical anthropology. Many people feel that physical anthropology consists of science, how to acquire mastery over it. Why? Because majority of the aspirants are from engineering background, but here on the basis of biology actually. But it is not so. It's like mathematics. Once if you can understand the concepts, you can write answers very easily. That too, it is based on biology. It is not at all related to current affairs. If you know the concepts, you can write answers. Here, for your easy understanding, I'll tell you one example. E is equal to mc square. The formula is same in 1980s, 1970s, 1950s, even now also. That means the biology science or biology related aspects especially, they are not subjected to current affairs. If we can acquire mastery over the subject, you can write the content so easily, and they are not at all subjected to change. Very, very, very rarely they are subjected to change. Some topics. That's why in the beginning you may feel difficulty just for about 3 or 4 classes. Anyway, you might have come across the same terms in your 10th class biology. That's why it is not a problem. But the faculty who has been explaining this concept must have command over the biology. I can proudly say that I am the only faculty in India, anthropology faculty in India, with a medical background. Because of my medical background, I am able to explain the concepts of genetics and other biology concepts very clearly. That's why the chances of success is very, very high for my students in the examination with anthropology as an option. And availability of material, as far as my coaching is concerned, I prepared one material. Actually, it is my notes which I have prepared while preparing for civil services. Later, after becoming faculty, I enriched that material. It is like that of a notes. It will not be like that of a textbook, or it will not be like that of a research paper. Only the important points, the relevant content will be there. I prepared that material for a period of 10 years. We will provide that ready-made material also to you. And at the same time, even after the completion of the coaching, we will provide post-coaching support. Continuous support will be there. Every year, we will take current affairs based classes related to anthropology. That means we will provide this current affairs post-coaching support also. That is the advantage of my coaching. Now, if you go into details, see, all these are the factors which are to be taken into consideration whenever we are selecting an optional. Apart from all these things, first of all, we should have some interest in the subject. Without interest, even if we consider all these factors, I may not be in a position to clear the examination with that optional. That's why you should know whether that optional suits to your interest, suits to your nature. That means your mentality. Why? Because the subject content must be interesting for you. If they are not interesting, even if you consider all these criteria, it's not possible for you to acquire mastery over the subject. That's why I will explain the subject content. Then, if the topics are interesting for you, without any hesitation, you can opt anthropology as an optional in your examination. Now, let us discuss anthropology syllabus in detail. In anthropology, we have two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 will be in general. In general means what is meant by anthropology, what are the different branches of anthropology, and how man evolved. That means we'll study evolution of man. And what is the culture of human beings. Like that we'll study in general, not only with respect to India but also with respect to entire world. That's why it is in general. Second paper will be in the context of Indian anthropology. How humans evolved in India and what is the culture of Indian people and what are the different issues related to our culture and society will study. That's why the first paper deals with anthropology in general, whereas second paper deals with Indian anthropology. That means in the context of India. Now, if you go into first paper, again in first paper there will be two components, section A and section B. Section A consists of Socio-Cultural Anthropology. Section B consists of Physical Anthropology. That means here we'll study the evolution of man and the evolution of culture and the culture in detail. What are the different domains of culture? And in section B, we'll study the biological aspects of evolution of man. That means we'll study the genetics. In the process of evolution, some changes took place in our body, but those changes were handed over to the next generation. How? Because of our genes. That's why we'll study the genes and the related concepts. That is nothing but physical anthropology. Similarly, in paper 2 also there will be 2 sections. Section A and section B, like that of paper 1. In section A, we'll study evolution of culture in India and Indian society in general. In section B, we will study in Indian society, tribal people are the most disadvantaged sections. That's why we'll study the tribals in detail. That can be called as tribal India. That means in our anthropology, in total we are going to study 4 aspects. One is socio-cultural anthropology. Second one is physical anthropology. Third one is Indian society, and fourth one is tribal India. This is the overview of our syllabus. Now, first let us discuss socio-cultural anthropology. We'll discuss one after another. Actually, in paper 1, section A, we have 8 chapters. First chapter deals with introduction. That means what is meant by anthropology, what are the branches of anthropology. After that, we'll study evolution of man and his culture. This is the first chapter. After that, we'll study the culture in detail. What are the different domains of culture? That means marriage, family, kinship. Marriage inevitably leads to the formation of family and establishment of relationships. That is nothing but kinship. This way, in the second chapter, we'll study marriage, family, and kinship. In third chapter, we'll study economic anthropology. That means here we'll study anthropology in the economic sphere. That means what is meant by anthropology? Anthropology is nothing but study of evolution of man and his culture. Here in the economic anthropology, we are going to study economy in the socio-cultural context. I'll tell you in a simple way. Say for example, consider my coaching. If any unknown person wants to take my coaching, he has to pay certain amount of fees. Say for example 30,000 rupees. But if my brother's son wants to take coaching for anthropology optional, can I charge 30,000 rupees? No. He is my brother's son. That's why he need not to pay the fees also. That means here our economic transactions will be influenced by our culture. If I do not give concession to my brother's son, what happens? There will be pressure from my father's side, from my mother's side, and from all the quarters. That's why we will study the economic transactions or economy in the socio-cultural context. Similarly, we'll study political anthropology. That means we'll study polity in the cultural context, in the socio-cultural context. We have a constitution, we have very well-defined procedure to elect our representatives. votes. There is one procedure or process. But at the time of casting our votes, our cultural sentiments are going to influence our behavior. Am I correct or not? Throughout the history of Indian politics, we can come across the same. If there is death of one leader, immediately his son or a daughter or wife will be projected as the next important candidate. It can be MLA or MP or Prime Ministerial candidate, whatever it may be. See, Jawaharlal Nehru, after that Indira Gandhi, after that Rajiv Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, and after Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi was projected. Am I correct or not? People cast their votes on the basis of their sentiments, on the basis of their culture. In our family, whenever there is death of one person, death of the head of the family, then the senior-most male or the eldest son will be recognized as the head of our family. We are applying the same in the politics also. That's why we'll study the polity in the cultural context, that means socio-cultural context. Then religious anthropology. I need not to explain what is meant by religion. And we'll study what are the different religions and what are the different religious practices. Like there are certain aspects related to religion we'll study. After that, as far as our syllabus is concerned, in paper 1 section A, we have total 8 chapters. Let us discuss the 6th chapter at a later point of time. 7th chapter, language. Language is also part and parcel of our culture. If someone offends our language, we'll get a lot of angry. Even at the time of elections also, when the political leaders visit certain states, in order to identify themselves with the people of the concerned state, they would like to start their speech in the concerned regional language. Say for example, if the Prime Minister wants to carry out election campaign in a Telugu speaking state, let us take a Telugu speaking state, then Narendra Modi may start his speech in Telugu. Namaste. Even though he may not be in a position to speak Telugu clearly, but he will start his speech with Telugu. Why? Because in order to identify himself with the people of Telugu speaking states, he would like to start his speech with Telugu. Then people will be happy. That is true. That's why here we'll study language. Language is also part and parcel of culture. These are the different domains of culture: marriage, family, kinship, economy, polity, religion, language. Now here, consider marriage chapter. In marriage, we'll study what is meant by marriage and what are the different rules and regulations associated with a marriage, what are the marriage payments. Like that, we'll study different interesting aspects. What are the functions of marriage, what are the types of marriage, what are the marriage payments. Like this, all these things we'll study. In India, we have different varieties of marriage: monogamy, one husband, one wife; polygamy, one husband, many wives; polyandry, one wife, multiple husbands. In certain areas, this practice is there. How we came to know about the presence of different varieties of marriage practices, different varieties of economic systems, political systems, religions? It is because of research conducted by our anthropologists and other people. At the time of conducting research, we have to be careful. We have to collect proper data. That's why we have one separate chapter named Research Methods. How to conduct research and what are the tools that are to be used. Say for example, if I want to know about the people of one particular state, say for example Andhra Pradesh. If I rely on one newspaper, I may get one type of interpretation. If I rely on another newspaper, I will get another type of interpretation. Why? Because some newspapers are associated with some political parties. That's why they would like to project so and so political party as a good party, so and so political party as a bad party. That's why if you rely on a newspaper, you may or may not get proper information. That's why at the time of conducting research, you must know the intention of the person who has been providing information is to be considered. Like this, in this chapter, we'll study what are the research methods, what are the different tools that we use, what are the precautions that are to be taken. Whenever we carry out research in this manner, we will get unbiased data, proper data. After analyzing the data, we can come to a conclusion regarding their culture. That's why in this Socio-Cultural Anthropology, in this paper 2 section A, we will study research methods. See, after carrying out research, that means whenever we are conducting research or whenever we are involved in research, we will get some experience over the concerned sphere. Now, consider corona situation or COVID-19 crisis. If someone gives statement on the nature of corona, people may or may not believe. But if one doctor gives one statement regarding corona, people believe. It's entirely a new situation, but will believe the statement given by a doctor. Why? Because they are well experienced in that sphere. Similarly, here also the anthropologists who got lot of experience because of their research, they started formulating different theories. How culture came into existence, how it has spread from one part of the world to other parts of the world, how the culture influences the personality. See, our culture definitely influences our personality. There are many other factors, but culture influences our personality. See, as far as India is concerned, culture influences the behavior of male, the behavior of female. Anyone can drink alcohol, but if you are going in front of a wine shop, if many males are there in front of the wine shop, will consider as normal. If some females are there in front of wine shops, then people consider it as an abnormal behavior. Why? Because a female should not behave like this. In traditional India, of course, nowadays in the name of gender equality, gender empowerment, now the females are also purchasing alcohol. Okay, we are not going into details, but in general, in traditional Indian society, or if you go to villages, we'll have one set of thinking. Male should behave in this manner, female should behave in this manner. That means culture influences the personality of males and the personality of females. That's why here our anthropologists, because of their experience, many anthropologists propose different theories. How culture came into existence, how it has spread from one part of the world to different parts of the world, how the culture can influence the personality of a particular person. That's why our anthropologists proposed different anthropological theories. Actually, in our classes, we'll discuss in this sequence. I don't know who prepared the UPSC syllabus, anthropology syllabus. They prepared the syllabus haphazardly, but we'll study in a sequence. This is the subject content of paper 1 section A, which is generally called as Socio-Cultural Anthropology. Then section B, physical anthropology. In physical anthropology, we'll study the biological aspects related to evolution of man. In physical anthropology, there are only 4 chapters. Numbering will be continuous. 9th chapter. 9th chapter deals with genetics. Genes constitute our genetic material. They will hand over our characteristics to the next generation. Whenever we are exposed to different environmental conditions, accordingly there will be changes in our body. If there are important changes, then those changes have to be transmitted to the next generation. That's why certain changes will take place in the genetic material, those changes will be transmitted to the next generation. That's why we'll study the genes. All the changes need not to be transmitted to the next generation, certain changes will be transmitted, which are essential for the survival of human race. That's why here we'll study genes, what is meant by gene, how the changes will be brought about in the genes or genetic makeup of an individual, how they will be transmitted to the next generation. Like that we'll study the genetics. After that we'll study growth and development. In the life of a human being, there are different stages. Our life starts with a single cell stage in the womb of our mother. Then after 9 months we'll come into this world. That's why after coming into this world also, first childhood, after that adolescent period, adulthood, and old senescent stage. Like this we'll study what are the different stages. Why? Because we have to understand the different changes which take place in our body as age advances. That is very, very important. That's why we'll study. And after that we'll study the demographic physical anthropology. Demography means it is nothing but study of population. Here we'll study the biological aspects relating to population. Here the population size will be decided by births and deaths. What are the factors which influence birth? Definitely our cultural factors influence the birth rate. Am I correct or not? Generally in Indian society, people would like to have at least one son. Why? Because the funeral pyre must be lit by a son. This way the desire for a son may influence the number of children to be born to a particular couple. Sometimes luck may not favor. They may not get a male child. That's why they may produce children continuously until they get a male child. And many other factors are there, we'll discuss in detail. And economic factors. If you have more money, if you have more affordability, you can produce more number of children. Like this, our economic position also influences the number of children which we produce. That's why here we'll study economic factors, socio-cultural factors, and biological aspects. Biological aspects means how the children will be produced. We'll study. Then finally, applied physical anthropology. Applied physical anthropology. That means based on the biological limitations, based on the understanding of the biology of human beings, we'll apply our knowledge for improvement of our society. That is called applied physical anthropology. Here we'll study the designing of defense equipment especially. Whenever we are designing any good, that must be in tune with the body measurements of human beings. Then only there will be good man-machine or man-good relationship, then only there will be very good performance. If the UPSC asks you to write the examination by sitting on the floor with a refill, can you write answers to all the questions in 3 hours? No. Similarly, here we will apply that concept. Based on body measurements, we will design the defense equipment. Similarly, based on the body measurements, certain people with a certain body measurements are suitable to certain sports. Selection of sports personnel. Like this, we'll apply the knowledge of physical anthropology for improving the lives of our human beings. That is called applied physical anthropology. Only 4 chapters are there. They are very easy to remember, very easy to understand. In the beginning, you may face difficulty, 4 or 5 classes. After that, it will be very easy. Many students who wrote civil services mains examination with mathematics, geography, they approached me. Almost all the students are from engineering background. In the beginning, they expressed a lot of apprehension and concern regarding physical anthropology. After the completion of coaching, they are of the opinion that, sir, physical anthropology is more easy than the remaining components. In the beginning, you may face difficulty, but after 3 or 4 classes, you will be comfortable. That's why don't bother about biology and having biology background in your graduation. Don't bother about all these things. 10th class knowledge is sufficient. And forget about it. Now let us discuss paper 2. As far as the paper 2 is concerned, again 2 sections, section A and section B. In section A, we'll study Indian society in general. The first chapter deals with the evolution of man and culture in India. Second chapter deals with demographic profile of India. Third chapter deals with traditional Indian society. And fourth chapter we'll discuss at a later point of time. Fifth chapter deals with Indian villages and social change in India. Actually, third and fifth chapter must be continuous, but UPSC in certain aspects they prepared a syllabus haphazardly. Fourth chapter deals with growth of anthropology in India. Evolution of man and culture, here we'll study. Here, with respect to this chapter, we'll concentrate more on evolution of culture. We'll study Indus Valley civilization and many other aspects, Vedic civilization. All these are part and parcel of your general studies. We'll study evolution of culture. After that, demographic profile. This is also part and parcel of your general studies. In geography, we'll come across. Only 3 topics are there in the syllabus. What are the factors influencing the growth and structure of the population? The racial elements and linguistic elements in India. That means we are going to study the profile of our people. That means how many varieties of racial elements, people belonging to different races are there, and how many linguistic groups are there, we'll study. After that, the factors influencing the population size and structure. And later we'll study traditional Indian society. That means even today also we can come across the practice of traditional Indian values. Here we'll study our society from the time of traditional India. In the beginning, what are the basic values followed by our ancestors, and which values are being followed even today also. Many people, even today also we are following. Whenever there are repeated failures in our exam, we used to say that it is because of my karma and rebirth. They are related to our traditional Indian philosophy. They have incorporated strongly these values. Similarly, you might have come across it in terms dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Like this, we'll study traditional Indian philosophy. And caste system, the most important aspect of Indian society. Even today also, the caste is influencing many aspects of our life. That's why in the traditional Indian society, we'll study the traditional Indian philosophy, the caste system, and the belief system. Actually, even today also, administrators or politicians, they will give a lot of importance to cultural sentiments of the people. Say for example, if there is a temple in the middle of the road, then is it possible for you to demolish that temple by citing that it is an illegal construction? No. Because sentiments of the people will be affected, then people may react violently. That's why government will take all due precautions. Why? Because people have that much of attachment with their gods. That's why how the people maintain relationship between their economic activities and their belief system. Consider doctors, they'll give more importance to science. But even the doctors also, if they want to start one hospital, they will search for proper muhurta. Even our ISRO also is searching for proper muhurta before launching a satellite. That's why there is a relationship between our belief system and economic activity. And for me also, taking classes, anthropology optional classes is an academic activity. But most of the times, I will start a new batch on Thursday only. Like this, here we'll study the belief system that is called nature-man-spirit complex. And later, actually, whenever we study traditional Indian society, we'll study basically Hindu society. Once upon a time, there was only Hinduism. Later, many religions came into existence. Buddhism, Jainism, some religions entered into India, Islam, Christianity. We'll study impact of those religions also. Traditional Indian society, that means traditional Indian philosophy will study, the caste system will study, the belief system we will study. After that, the impact because of different religions we will study. And we'll continue into 5th chapter. Here we'll study, even today also, nowadays we can come across the influence of the Western countries, modernization, all these things in urban centers very clearly. If you go to rural areas, the pure form of Indian culture can be seen. That's why if you want to know about the pure form of Indian culture, you must study the villages. Even according to 2011 census also, nearly 70% of Indians have been living in the villages. That's why if you want to become a good administrator, your actions, your policies, plans must be in tune with the cultural sentiments of the people. Otherwise, people will not accept your programs. That's why you must understand the culture of the people. That's why you must study the villages also. We'll study villages. And we'll study the social change. What are the agents of social change? How the social change was brought about in Indian society. Apart from these things, in 5th chapter we'll study minorities also. What are the different minorities? On the basis of religion, on the basis of language, religious and linguistic minorities we'll study. After that, we'll study the growth of anthropology. That means how anthropology came into existence as a subject in Indian society, how it was developed gradually over a period of time. What are the contributions of different anthropologists? Actually, at the time of studying this demographic profile, traditional Indian society, Indian villages, social change, will come across number of anthropologists, come sociologists. After that, if you study the growth of anthropology, then you can easily understand who contributed, what they have contributed, you can easily understand. And this is about paper 2 section A. Now, paper 2 section B is nothing but tribal India. The tribals are the most disadvantaged sections in our Indian society. Here in tribal India there are 4 chapters. Here also the syllabus, it was prepared haphazardly, but here there are 4 chapters. I told you in the beginning, current affairs based questions may be asked in the examination. As far as our anthropology is concerned, in tribal India on tribal issues, the questions will be on the basis of current affairs. It can be related to displacement of tribal people. It can be related to recognition of forest rights of the tribal people. like this, current affairs related issues. That's why here, rather than following the syllabus, there are 4 chapters. But for comprehensive understanding, we'll study in a different way. Entire tribal India, you have to adopt the same approach with respect to general studies also. An administrator is a troubleshooter. If everything is going on in a fine manner in an administration, what is the need for administrator? That's why administrator should know what are the problems of the people, what are the root causes of those problems, or what are the causes for those problems, what are the measures already taken, what are the drawbacks in those measures, and what to do to rectify that problem. This is called problem oriented approach. Here we will train you along this direction. Whenever you learn this problem oriented approach, it will be easy for your general studies also, it will be easy for writing general essay also. That means, in fact, we are going to study Indian society here and here. Okay, we will discuss it in detail later. Here we will study first the problems of the tribals, the measures taken, and the impact of those measures, and finally what is the role of anthropologists. That's why I think it is not clearly visible. Okay, wait. That's why, as far as paper 2 is concerned, in paper 2 section B, we'll study the tribal India, we'll study these aspects: problems, measures taken, impact of those measures, and role of anthropologists. Here, in anthropology, the paper 1 you have to study. Paper 2 is nothing but general studies. That means the burden on you will be very, very less. That is one of the advantages point, or one of the advantageous factor for the anthropology optional. See, I told you what are the factors that are to be taken into consideration at the time of selecting an optional. You have to consider those criteria. Our anthropology fulfills all those criteria. And at the same time, you must know the subject content. If this content is interesting, then only you can read that optional. That's why I explained the syllabus in detail. And that too, actually here paper 2, entire paper 2 is nothing but general studies, general studies, general studies. The only thing that you have to learn by investing significant efforts, significant amount of energy in this paper 1. That's why with less time, by investing less energy, you can acquire mastery over anthropology subject. You can easily crack the civil services examination. And this is about anthropology optional. And as far as my classes are concerned, I have to follow one basic principle. The purpose of coaching is to get as maximum information as possible within the shortest possible time. That's why here, generally in the market, there will be a number of textbooks. To my students, I will go through those textbooks, I will get the essence, I will give that knowledge to you, so that you can have only one source. Whenever you have only one source, then it will be easy for you to acquire command over it, and it will be easy for you to revise the subject on the day before the exam. That is very, very important, revision before the exam. That is my concern. And as far as my classes are concerned, I will concentrate on conceptual clarity. And in each class, say for example in a class of 1 hour duration, if I take class for about 45 minutes, I will concentrate on the probable questions in the examination based on the recent trends, and I will tell you what must be the structure, what must be the content, and what must be the structure. That means what are the points that have to be written, and in what way they have to be written. That means we will train you in tune with the UPSC requirements. So as far as my class is concerned, in a class of 1 hour 45 minutes on conceptual clarity, and remaining 15 minutes on the probable questions and the suggested answers. We will train you. And even in online classes also, we will have continuous monitoring. We will conduct online tests also on a periodical basis, and we will provide feedback also during this course. And even after the completion of course also, we will provide post-coaching support in the form of anthropology current affairs classes. This is about how to choose, what is the importance of optional, how to choose an optional, and what is the importance of optional, what is the importance of anthropology, and do we need coaching or not. Coaching is very, very essential. Why? Because certain topics are there which you cannot understand without the help of one expert. Consider physical anthropology. If you want to really crack the examination in the first attempt, then you must take coaching. Otherwise time will be wasted. It may take 2 attempts, 3 attempts, 4 attempts. Sometimes you may not be in a position to clear also. That's why here, see, consider a pot of water. A pot with water with a small hole at the bottom. What happens? Entire water will be leaked. Similarly, in the exam also, even though you are able to acquire command over majority of the topics, certain topics which are difficult to understand, you need guidance from an expert. If you do not have such guidance, then you will never cross 300 in the examination. If you do not cross 300, it's not possible for you to secure rank, and that too very good rank. That's why coaching is very, very essential. And as far as my coaching is concerned, I can proudly say that I am the only medical personnel, I am the only person with a medical background to teach anthropology. That's why here physical anthropology you can get very good conceptual clarity, so that you can attempt all the questions from all the sections, so that the chances of getting marks, very good marks, 300, 330, 340 will be very, very high. This is about anthropology. I think I have provided enough information for you to take one decision regarding anthropology optional and coaching. And thank you for watching my video.